Might not be the right one. It might not be the right time. But there's something about.
Yeah, we are live here, everybody. Welcome tonight to the Space Water Podcast. Let me make sure this is running.
Yeah, we are
Oh yeah,
live here.
we're live. Yep, we're live. Hey, no, dude, we had to get my daughter ready for bed and everything. Trust me, it wasn't because I was stalling. I got a family here. I got a young daughter who's got to get to bed. A lot of things. So I was planning on doing it at 10 after 9, but it took a little longer for me to get started. Took a little bit longer for me to get started. So sorry, guys, we're waiting. This is the Space Water Podcast, episode 37B. This is part two of what we started this morning. And I've had a really rough day, actually. My freaking car engine exploded. It's had a long run, about 10 years. I've had the car since September 2009. So it's got a little under 200,000 miles on it, like 199K. And it gave me a good run until the last like 6 months to a year. The last year or so, it's been giving me problems. But I love that car. I got it right before my mom passed away, and I've had it the whole time. My daughter basically, we brought her to the when my wife was giving birth, we brought my daughter to, we brought in that car, we brought her to the hospital. We brought the baby home for the first time, Tana home for the first, all that. So it's like a really special car for me. It got me through a lot as well. And I don't know if we'd be able to fix this one because I think the engine's gone. Me and my buddy Jeff actually have been able to fix it the last year or so. We put a new alternator in, we put a whole bunch of different things, but it's just so many things have happened in the last year, and I think this was the final straw that broke the camel's back. But it's had a great run. That's my Spiral Mobile. So definitely support us in the super chat because I'll be taking the bus for a while to get groceries for my family and to run errands because I definitely don't have it to go buy a new car or anything like that or lease one. So that was a brand new car that I had bought at the time, and so I don't think I'll, you know, well, hopefully maybe one day I will have some kind of money where I'll be able to buy a new car like that again. But that was like a special thing because I had a little money saved up. My mom helped put in a little bit of money because it was uh it was rough times. My mom was like dying from cancer, and I was traveling at the time twice a day, 40 minutes to drive to my mom's house to help her out and to help take care of things. So I needed a new car because I like destroyed my other car commuting to work and to my mother's house a couple of times a day. So my mom had helped me buy that car. It was the first time I ever got a new car in my life. And like my mom put in half and I did the other, and it was pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. And a special car. That's why I've never had a new car from the beginning to the end. Like I've always had, like when I was a younger kid, I always had, used cars. So hopefully maybe one day I can get a brand new car again. But even if I had the money, I would literally fix that car brand new up again. I wouldn't go buy a new car. I'm not all about like having new fancy things and name brands and all that stuff. If I like something, I kind of stick with it. And change is all right. I like change, but I literally would fix that car up brand new if I had the money. I wouldn't even go buy a new car. So that's how much I love that car. And it's not like it's a fast car or anything. It's a four cylinder. It's not like it's like super impressive in any way. But yeah, I would do without a car, but when you have a family, you kind of need one. If it was just me by myself, it wouldn't be as bad. But you got a family, you got to bring your family out places, you got to do errands, and yeah, you need one, especially I'm not in the city. I'm on the outskirts in the suburbs, so you definitely need a car in this area if you want to do anything. Well, guys, you don't want to hear about my car problems. You don't want to hear about my past history driving cars. You want to hear the Space Water podcast. So let's get going, right? It's 9:30 Sunday night. December 1st, 9:30 p.m. here in the lower Hudson Valley of New York. It is December 1st, and you are tuning in to the Space Water Podcast exclusively on YouTube. And remember, this podcast is for entertainment only. We don't give medical advice. We don't give any sort of advice in those fields. So remember, we have products that can help your mind, body, and soul, but they're not in the place of doctors or anything like that. So definitely consult your physician if you want to make any medical decisions or anything like that. But I have found in the past that copper does have healing properties to it from my own experiences. And that's why when I say that you have copper rings around water bottles. It's very beneficial, especially even if you wear them around your gemstones and your body. So I highly recommend you guys going to the Mystical Spiral store. We still have our coupon code up. If you guys want, the items are going quick. Everybody, tonight's podcast, Space Water Podcast, is sponsored by the Mystical Spiral store. And you guys can find that at the mysticalspiralstore.com. We have 15% off right now as our coupon code. We extended it for not just Black Friday, but for the whole weekend. So you guys got a few minutes left. Look at you guys see, look, all the products I've been putting up, boom, they all just went out of stock today right here. The Shungite pendant, the skull, the Labradorite hearts. I have more of the Labradorite hearts and other stuff, but all these products just went out of stock today. I will be fixing that tonight after the show and tomorrow. But even if things are out of stock, there's other ones out of there because they're one of ones, a lot of them, So like I'll put up something similar. But you guys, if you see something out of stock, just let me know. I probably have something similar in stock. We do have these great deal on these Labradorite package right here, 36.99, and you get a Labradorite palm stone, a Labradorite heart palm stone, a free gift, and shipping is included with that as well. So you get and this is a blessed and programmed Labradorite package, really powerful. So you guys can check that out at the mysticalspiralstore.com. This is the second episode of 37. This is 37B, right? So we're gonna get into it deep now. Um Now this morning we got into the story of Fatima, right? But we need to do a little bit of a prep before we go into the actual Fatima encounter and prophecy and dealings because I got into the sun, right? How the sun is speaking. The sun is speaking and sending incredible amounts of information, right? So there's new people to my channel every day. So I just need to give a basis of the science, some of the science behind the sun. Now, I do have a background in plasma physics, I have a background in mythology, and I have found that spiritual and science need to be merged once again, right? Between having a background in certain astrophysics, you would say, and astronomy, and also having a background with over 30 years in mythology. as I got into the last 5 or 6 years of really studying deeply plasma astrophysics, because I was into astronomy and astrophysics for a few decades, but over the last, I would say, 6 years or so, I've mainly focused on plasma physics, right? Because I saw the actual connections, right? I was given a spiritual sign. I had a spiritual experiences, but then it guided me to find the scientific evidence to prove what I saw, right? To make some sense out of it to everyone, right? And to find the real reason why I was given these visions, right? It wasn't just for me, it was for the collective, right? It was for the collective for this to happen. And what they tell us in school is really not the case. Where it's the sun is not a hydrogen gas sphere, it's a plasma sphere, right? I've talked about this. It's a plasma star. And a plasma is when the gas is actually superheated to a higher level where it reaches another state of matter where the electrons are literally stripped from the superheat and it forms its own life now. It's like a free moving sentient substance. It's a whole new stage of matter, right? You got solids, liquids, gases, and plasma, right? And apparently we probably, we're going to probably find out that there's other stages of light and matter out there, right? That there's all sorts of intelligences that are within the plasma, that are plasma intelligences. Like we have all sorts of life, sentient life within all stages of matter, right? And you have to look at the sun as different than what just science says. And science is not giving you the whole picture, right? We are keeping spirituality and science at completely opposite ends of the spectrum, when in reality, they should be merged. They are fused together. There can't be one without the other, right? It's like saying there's no spirit. If you That's just saying that there's only the physical in life, that we're just a physical being, that we have no emotions and spiritual energies about us, right? And that's not the case, because we know there's much more. Give a shout out real quick to the chat room. And you guys also can support me right here in the super chat. You guys can support me at PayPal. You guys can go to Patreon to follow my work and my research. Patreon.com/the mystical spiral. I really want to start building Patreon because there's a lot of things I have to be really careful with my wording, even on YouTube. There's a lot of things I can't talk about on here. And I'd rather do most of my deep talks on another platform where it's not as restricted, right? So you guys can join for literally $2 a month, guys. You go buy a coffee and you have nothing to show for it. You can go get priceless information for $2 a month. You could join my Patreon. Um, the higher platforms also get you access to readings and free gifts and all sorts of things. So there's all sorts of platforms for all of your price brackets. Um, Claudette, shout out to my wifey Magic Micah, Wildwoods, Charlotte Knight. Who else we got in the chat room? I know there's like 10 of you guys listening right now, or watching. Shout out to you guys all and good evening. Good evening, Claudette. Yes, yes, Charlotte. I know I was not just taking my time starting the show. We have a young child. She's got to start her schoolwork tomorrow morning, so we had to make sure she gets to bed, starts getting to bed and stuff. So I was planning on it starting this at 9 p.m. But I had sent a update for 9:10, but yeah, I didn't get here till 9:20. So sorry if you guys were waiting for me to start. We will be going deep tonight into how the sun speaks. Now, remember, the sun is not just some hydrogen gas sphere. It's much more intricate. It's a higher intelligence. You can even look at this as an angel, right? One of the messengers of God. You have millions of angels within God's army, and some of them have higher ranks than others. So you have angels in different brackets as well. You have meteor messengers that are angels within the cosmos. You have solar messengers, right? You also have solar generals that are generals over specific special solar systems like ours, right? And this is Archangel Michael for our specific Mikael, actually, right? We actually pronounced Michael wrong, and this was given done to us deliberately, so we lose the power of the word, right? It's actually Mikael. Saying Michael is like uh saying Raphael, like my name, Ralph or Raphael, like saying it raffle, right? Every other word we say it right. Gabrielle, right? Gabriel. Or um what's another example? Ishmael, uh um Raphael, right? We say those ones right, but Mikael we don't say. We say Michael, right? Michael is like saying raffle. If it was Raphael, you're leaving it out. It's losing the power of the word. The in ancient Egyptians they call it the hekau. The hekau. The hekau is like the sort of like the logos, right? The power of the word, right? The genetic and instructions, the code, the universal code that is uttered, the sounds of the universe, right? And this is what Sanskrit is. This is what ancient, correct Sanskrit, said in the right way, correctly. This is what Sanskrit was developed for. It was developed to be a language of the gods, to make the primal sounds of nature and the universe. So the sun is literally these streams of sentient plasma. They're streaming like rivers. I've talked about it before. And each river forms a confluence of one big celestial ocean. And this celestial ocean is the Akashic field. It has all of the codes of life, the genetics, bacterial code, everything is flying around, proteins and this and that, everything to start life, create life, um, sustain, right? Evolve and ultimately dissolve and regenerate and start anew with all the life experiences and all of the life knowledge that is generated from previous life forms and that has been absorbed by the sun in each solar system that has life pulsating out of it. The sun's light, that is the sun, the sun is the basically the general of its solar system. It sees all and touches all. What it touches with its light it absorbs as well, right? And it absorbs all that knowledge from all the life in its solar system. And at the end of that sun's life, after it's done depleting its energy, sometimes it goes into nova or supernova, depending on its size. And then it explodes all that knowledge out into the cosmic ocean, right? And then the solar wind network gobbles it up and sends it out amongst the interstellar Akashic records, the solar wind network. And this is all a network of intelligent plasma. 99.99% of the mass of the universe is plasma, right? It's stringing together and interconnecting everything. We don't fully understand it. It's just as enigmatic and misunderstood to us as the spiritual domain of the human body, right? Very, very intricate and very misunderstood, unfortunately, right? And we're just starting to grasp some of the way that Plasma is interconnecting nebulas. It's when you actually see a a nebula or something like that, it's literally a big boat of plasma. It's and when, in ancient Egyptian, they describe it in a very poetic and incredible way. They have the boat of millions of years, right? Now, on a galactic scale, plasma is measured in millions of light years. It is a boat of millions of years. When you see a nebula, it could be 300 million light years of plasma. It's a boat of millions of years, right? They even have like the temple of millions of years, and it's a temple that has to do with solar light, right? That's how amazing is that? Those aren't called coincidences. That's called evidence, right? That's called knowledge, right? When things connect like that, that's not me just making dots fit because I'm looking for them, right? That's actual evidence. When you have literally described as divine knowledge of the solar deities and the solar dynasties, and when that lines up with our modern day plasma physics, it's called evidence. We're not talking that it's hey, they're talking about you know kitchenware or how to cook in the desert or whatever. No, they're talking about divine knowledge about the sun, and it's giving you symbols that have to do with coronal mass ejections, right? If you're just finding my work, I've showed you guys some of the decoding I've done, right? How the Pasha of Hindu or the Ankh of Egypt is the coronal loop. And because this is ultimately it's a solar symbol wielded by the solar king, the sun god. And what does our sun wield that looks like loops? Oh, it's obviously it's the coronal loop, right? The Ankh, right? The Ankh is one of the symbols of the sun god. Now, that's not a coincidence that when you see Akhenaten and the arms of the sun coming down and handing him a loop, this is the intelligence of the sun. Literally, Akhenaten's name means the intelligence of the solar rays, right? That is a coronal loop being handed down to his solar queen and king. And this one is actually offering his young life or her young life up to the coronal ring, the coronal loop, and the sun. So maybe this baby was even given up as a sacrifice, possibly to the sun's rays. But you can see clearly this is plasma physics, right? Even the golden hood of the cobra is represented of a coronal loop, right? And the way the snake moves through the plasma waves is like snakes. The naga, or this is called the basilisk in Greek, or the uraeus, or the asp in Egyptian. The solar asp, actually, it's called, right? And the way it moves, they call them like Birkeland currents as well, right? It moves the way the snake, moves like snakes. The electricity through the plasma waves, the information, this coming from the sun, the solar waves, the electrons. It moves like snakes through the plasma waves, through the celestial ocean, and it is through the rays of the light. And these arms, they come down from sunspots. They come down from the sun. These coronal loops, right? And that is being harnessed and sent to its solar king. He's breathing in and taking in the essence of the storm of the sun, the intelligence of the sun. Now, when Akhenaten, he was born Amenhotep the Fourth, right? He changed his name, I think, according to a solar cycle, like 11 years into his reign or something like that. He changed his name to Ak or Ku in Natan. You have that word Ak in Egyptian that also can be exchanged with the word Ku. They both mean intelligence in Egyptian. Ak in Natan means the intelligence of the rays of the sun, or intelligence of the light of the sun. So he's talking about the information and intelligence that's coming from the sun's rays. That's literally what he changed his name to, right? And this is very important because this has to do with communicating with the sun as it speaks to its children, right? And we are all the sun's children. The sun sees all, knows all, and nothing can escape the sun's grasp. And sun is very connected to people that run their life by the sun, like shepherds, right? And that's what we have when the vibration of the planet, like I've said before, I got to go through it and tell people once again, um, there is a harmony of spheres transpiring, right? So all energies and life generates out amongst the stars as specific solar systems develop, right? They channel in different energies amongst the stars and suns, right? So as the sun in our solar system, for instance, pulls in energies from all these different suns and stars, all these different rivers of plasma out there from each specific sun and star, each sun and star having its own personality and characteristics and orbits and and composition and specific genetics and bacterias and codes that exist on it, right? And within it, right? Each one having its own, some of them having their own solar system with their own lives that they touch, right? All of that transpiring. That is all interconnected, right? And as life on, say, our planet in our solar system transpires, right? We absorb the emissions that's coming from our sun, right? Our sun is sending out emissions. But before our sun sends out emissions, it's receiving emissions also from all the other suns and stars out there that it's interconnected with through solar wind and network. And it pulls in different characteristics and personalities with different suns and stars as alignments transpire. And as they pull in these characteristics, our sun alters what it pulls in from its own vibration. And then it sends out, it alters that vibration and sends out emissions. Us on our planet, we receive those emissions, right? We alter those emissions with our own vibrations. And then we send out our own prayers and thoughts and vibrations and what we want and what we're thinking about, what's transpiring. And as our vibrations and our emissions come out of our planet, the moon and the sun absorbs that, and then they alter it again by their own very vibration, and then send us back down its emissions and evolve us according to our very own vibration. So because of what's coming out of us, right? Because of our thoughts and our prayers that's being absorbed by the sun's going to pull in energies from other stars and suns according from that have different characteristics and personalities according to what we're calling out to be. So if we're talking about being greedy and materialistic, and that's the vibration that's coming out of this planet, our sun is going to pull in energies from specific stars and suns that have that sort of energy and vibe. And it's going to pull those energies into it and then send them down to us because that's what we're calling out for. Whether it's for the good of us or not, it is like a net, Chloe. It is like it's a network. It's very similar to like a Pythagoras harmony of spheres, right? It's interconnected, right? So as the vibration of our planet becomes more greedy and warlike and it's starting to accelerate, the sun is sending messengers. The sun is sending some of its light out there, some of its sentient plasma, to touch specific individuals on our planet that can hear the light, that can still hear the voice of God, that can still hear the music within the plasma, the sound of the light, the voice of God. Elijah heard the voice of God. Elijah communicated with the fire from the sun. Amos. There's so many people that, even in the Bible, that were communicating with the sun, right? And this is what happened with Fatima. The sun was speaking, giving a warning to mankind, telling mankind, if you do not change the collective consciousness of humanity, the vibration of humanity, chastisements will come. The sun will bring a change. It will eliminate the technology and the war on this planet that's destroying nature and its alignment with the solar system and ultimately the universe, right? The literally vibration of our planet has stopped evolution. And I literally can say it's lowered the vibration and the dimensional existence of this planet. We are no longer on a harmonic evolution in frequency. We have a sludge wrapped around our dimension and our earth. We are trapped within the sludge. And we've lost the coordinates of the afterlife. We've lost the coordinates to heaven. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you haven't already my channel. We're just getting started here tonight on the Space Water Podcast. You can't stop me today. Even though my car broke down, my engine's gone, we still running strong. I'll walk to get groceries for my family with a friggin' sack like Santa Claus on my back. It's all right. I'll walk to the post office shipping out my products with a big sack like Santa Claus. I'll take my daughter to the park on my shoulders if I have to. You guys can support me right here in the super chat as well. You guys can support me at Patreon. You guys can go to the mysticalspiralstore.com also. That is our sponsor, the Mystical Spiral Store. And we're going to get into this Fatima. Now, Fatima is one of these Marian apparitions that where in this case, I do believe it was the sun speaking to these beautiful children, right? These children that were connected to Mother Earth. They were shepherds. I don't think they were lying. I don't think they did it for attention. It was a crucial time on the planet. We were on the brink of war. I think war might have already started. When did World War One start? I think Fatima was what, 1917? World War One was either had already started or we were on the brink of World War One. It was during a time where, similar to what we've been going through, in the last few years, they had the Spanish influenza back then, and people were dying left and right from the flu, right? From a rare strain of the flu. And believe me, I wasn't yeah, I'm trying to push through. I was in almost tears this morning though. Trust me. When it first happened, I was almost in tears. because I knew because I can me and my my one of my friends of mine and myself together, we've been able to fix minor problems with the car. But yeah, no, this morning when I saw antifreeze spitting out from all ends, I was like, oh man, it's done it. But yeah, uh, with Fatima, we got a very interesting because this took place over the course of months, right? It was many apparitions, and it was coming on a specific day of the month on the 13th of the month. Very, very interesting. And I do believe it had to do with the sun being in a specific spot and a specific, it has to do with the sun, right? It's even called the miracle of the sun event, right? So first, when you talk about the time that what was transpiring in Portugal at the time as well, Portugal um, is about 1/6 of what they call the Great Iberian Peninsula, right? That it shares with Spain. And up until around the turn of the century, it had been uh, an absolute monarchy, right? With very strong ties, affiliations with the Roman Catholic Church. Now, and even some people write that historical sources say that at least at one time, as many as two out of every nine inhabitants were priests or members of certain religious orders that had to do with the Catholic Church, right? So this is a very spiritual and religious area. Um, and Before 1900, there was anti-monarchy and anti-clerical forces that had begun starting, and by the year 1900, those forces had emerged under a certain motto that called the Republic of Terrorists, right? And they were trying to make sure that there would be the last king would be strangled with the literally entrails of the last priest, right? And then King Charles the First, well, the UFO thing with Fatima is involved as well. I mean, the sun is sending out plasma crafts from it. So, yes, the UFO is involved. We're going to get into that as well because they're literally plasma crafts that can also push itself into matter, right? But they're coming through the sun. They're coming from the sun. They're being sent from the sun. They're angelic messengers, Goat Man, right? Well, King Charles the First and his son, who was heir to his throne, they were assassinated in 1908. And the next king was Manuel the First, and he very wisely had fled to England in 1910, and there was some sort of revolutionary republic that was proclaimed. And the new republic was a mixture of free thinkers, socialists, Democrats, Marxists, atheists, all of this. And they were squabbling amongst themselves and wanted to establish reform. And the new leaders depended on all their usual tactics of ruthlessness and fear and all of that stuff, right? So, uh, the throne, the nobility, and the church, they were all going through stuff, right? And it was very crucial and that people were starting these different ties with each other, right? And it was they regarded the throne, the nobility, and the church as a complex of irrational institutions, right? That's what it said. And it was easy enough to exterminate the royal family lines and to abolish the titles of nobility, basically. At and they were teaching socialism and atheism, right? And the leaders of the new republic were in unfamiliar territory, and they were, trying to teach all of this stuff, this you know, new stuff going on, and the economic systems have broke down, right? All the factions were squabbling from each other. And in 1910, one of the first acts of the new republic was to expel all the religious orders and to confiscate their property. And this turned into a drawn out long fair and affair, and the religious orders were resisting, and then between 1911 and 1916 there was at least 17,000 priests, monks, and nuns that were murdered, and in groups. They were unalived, right? And this is history here. And even occasionally their insides, their entrails, and their heads were unalived and were carried in parades to impress the other religions, right? And this was going on in Portugal until about 1917. And churches were closed and destroyed. No one dared congregate for mass or even say rosary, right? Fear was the king, and religion was considered no more. And it was in 1914, right, that the war started. But it had begun somewhere else besides Portugal at first, right? And could be described in religious materials and as the first of the great modern apocalypses, right? And in 1917 is when this apparition took place. Um, and Now the sun can speak to people in ways that we can't fathom. Especially, it could speak to the religious beliefs of a specific individual and show up like that, right? So it's quite possible that either the very sun itself was sending intelligences to us in the form of holographic type plasma light, like they could form from the light, literally from the light. Shapes can form out of the light, almost like a blue beam technology, right? Like a holographic, like push itself into matter from the light, right? This can transpire. It's very possible within the literally the plasma from the sun, right? So it's quite possible though that other races out there can also harness the sun's energies and use it as a technology as well. Either way, I do believe it was coming directly from the sun, and the sun was giving a warning and has done so in specific ways to try to get this message to humanity. Right? So I wanted to give that little pre, you know, give you guys a little vision of what was the climate before this and during this apparition, right? Religion was pretty much not to be discussed. People were getting destroyed, like unalived from it. You guys realize that? When these kids spoke up and said that the Virgin Mary was coming to them, it was at the most dangerous time to ever say that, right? So it's very, very important you guys understand that. And in 1917, it's a very poor, rocky area, and there were peasants that lived there, and not many shepherd peasants, right? And not many either. And the nearest largest town was La Iria, right? Which is now that's the bishop of Fatima is Laira, right? Lairia. It's spelled Leiria, right? And it's about 12 or 13 miles to the northwest of that town where um Jacinta and and Francisco and Lucia were from, right? Then that's the nearest town. And there was once a very famous university there, apparently, and the Archdiocesan Cathedral, which is I think it was shut down though. I don't think they ever put another one in there. Welcome people in the chat room. But the hamlet of Fatima is about 110 miles to the north of Lisbon, and it's at an elevation of about 3,000 feet above sea level. And in 1917, it was a very poor, rocky area. And like I said, it's literally not many people living there, right? Very, very secluded area. And early in 1916, Lucia dos Santos, who is the main seer here, this is the one that becomes Sister Lucy, at age 8, and her two younger cousins, who was part of this as well, Jacinta and Francisco Marto, they were tending sheep at Chalza Velha, which is a field east of Mount Cabico near Fatima. Now, they reported at that time that a cloud that was whiter than snow had formed several times, and in this cloud there appeared a young youth about 14 or 15 years of age, and it was dazzling in all its splendor, right? And he even announced himself to them, right? He was saying, "Don't fear, I'm an angel of peace. Pray with me." Many people don't know about that encounter that happened previous to the start of the Fatima encounters. This was a year before. This was in 1916, and a cloud came out of the heavens, and they saw a young boy that was 14 or 15 years of age came out of this cloud, and it appeared to these three children, and it said to them, "Don't fear, I'm an angel of peace. Pray with me." He wanted to get their vibration to that pray, right? It's praying is very important. When you're opening yourself up to the cosmos, it's very important, right? Now they that opened up the channel with the sun and those children at that moment. And there's dozens and dozens of sources from Fatima, not just these three children, right? And you know, there's many sources that reported many events during the Fatima times during these months. Now, I don't think it's an angel itself that was appearing. I think it was an angel literally sending a message within the light, like a holographic image, because an angel itself, I don't think would be somebody would be trembling when it took its form and shape, right? Um, and I do feel the sun is actually an angelic being, right? And to stand next to a sun would be almost impossible. right? And when the sun takes its physical form, it can take its physical form in a very giant, incredible being of light, and we would tremble and cower and not be able to come anywhere near it. And um, so on Sunday, May 13th, 1917, is when the first of these Fatima encounters happen. Now, it's very interesting because on Sunday, May 13th, 1917, that these same three children that saw and had that event with the cloud the previous year, they were tending sheep. They're shepherds. And remember, shepherds are very connected to the sun. They're connected to nature. They're connected to the solstices. They're connected to the different times of day the sun has its strength, right? They're connected to just nature and their herd and the surroundings and everything. They're connected more than most people are to the sun and the different times of year the sun is at its most potent. When the sun and all of that, right? It's no tell. There's a reason why shepherds and even the crooked staff becomes a symbol of the solar shepherds and the shepherd kings, right? This is related to the coronal loop and the coronal mass ejection loop, the way the sun retrieves its light, just like the golden noose of the gods, right? At noon. At noon. Remember. Now, this is incredible because noon is at the highest, strongest part of the day for the sun. Literally, high noon. At noon on May 13th, 1917, a beautiful lady appeared near an oak tree. An oak tree. Now, an oak tree is very important. Mostly, they are the highest thing in the area, right? They're the first thing that usually gets struck by lightning, oak trees. And also, oak trees, they literally absorb the light from the sun and transmute it. They turn it into food. They turn it like the whole photosynthesis process. They transpire it. All this all the stuff that goes on. They transmute the light. The oak tree was used as an anchor for the light. It was used as like an obelisk, right? And it appeared right either above or near the oak tree. And this happened several times during the Fatima encounters. Now, according to some sources, she even said this being even said, "Don't be afraid. I will not harm you." And then Lucia was the one that first found courage to speak and asked the lady where she was from. And the lady said she came from the sky, she came from the heavens. And then the lady made three requests before she left. I asked you to come here on the 13th day of each month at this same hour. It's high noon until October. Then I will tell you who I am and what I want. And she requested that these three children, which is Francisco, Lucia, and Jacinta, she requested that they learn to read and write and that they should say the beads each day to obtain peace for the world and the end of the war. Now, these beads are very Vedic, even though Portugal's a Catholic area at the time. The beads are very Vedic, especially if you're doing the 108 beads. This aligns you literally with the length of the sun, the diameter across the sun. It's exactly 108 times of Earth, right? And interestingly, the moon is the same thing, right? When they chant the solar mantras and the Gayatri mantras in Vedic, it's 108 times. The 108 number is very important when it comes to beads and chants and mantras with the sun. It's the Sacred Nine, right? So they asked them to learn to read and write, to come there on the 13th of every month, and to learn and to pray the beads each day to obtain peace for the world and the end of the war. Because this is during World War One. This was the first great war to start apocalyptic times. Now, the lady left, but she parted her hands, and a great ray of light streamed from them directly upon the children. Then a path for her opened up in the sky as if it were heaven opening up to receive her. This is how Lucia described it. Literally, plasma streams. A great ray of light streamed from them directly upon the children as she parted her hands. Now, these very young seers, these solar seers, Lucia dos Santos and Jacinta and Francisco Morto, or Marto, Morto would be death, Marto, which unfortunately they did die, those two, very, very young from influenza, from the Spanish flu. But you can see photos showing three rather solemn, scary, horrified faces. Now, first, let me show you this, my brothers and sisters, which I don't do happily. Look at the face of this young woman, lady. This is the face of Lucia after she had that encounter. Look at the burden that she was given. Look at her face right there. And do you know that this is might have cost her her life, this event? Now, I don't know for sure. I am just, I guess, speculating out there, but there's quite possible that the Catholic Church either hid this lady away until she died or unalived her and got rid of them herself. They definitely changed who she was. Now, before we get into the actual encounters during each month, because this is gonna be a series. This is just part two. There's gonna be about 4 parts of this series, at least. Now, yeah, welcome Jason, welcome Chloe, welcome Isaac, welcome Zeralath. All my buddies is here. Goatman, Wildwoods, Claudette, Charlotte, my wifey Magic Micah or Mika. I say both, Micah and Mika. Um, who else? Did I miss anybody? There's 23 of you out there, so I hope you guys have having a great night. There should be 23 likes. Keep shining, brother Isaac. Hope you like the Labradorite, brother. And once again, you guys can support me right here in the super chat. You guys can support me by joining my patreon.com/the mystical spiral. And you could support by going to the Mystical Spiral store, everybody. Check out. We got, not only do we have Labradorite packages, we got the coupon code up for everybody. Look at that. Still 15% off of everything. No minimum purchase required. And look at everything is being sold out today. All this stuff sold out today. But we got so much more, everybody. We literally got hundreds and hundreds of products up there. All these are new products. So we're mixing it all up. We're mixing it all up. So you have new products on every page. New products on every single page, everybody. So don't forget to check it all out. You guys got everything you need on here. So let's go back to this. Where is she? Here we are. So this is young Lucia, who becomes Sister Lucy. Now, before we go further, let me first tell you what I was referencing about her being replaced. Now, if you were listening to part one, this is episode 37B. 37A was this morning. Nice, you're wearing the Herkimer diamond necklace. Yeah, guys, for you guys don't see if you guys see in the chat room right now what Isaac is saying. I give free gifts with every order on my website, right? And I'm talking about badass gifts. And even have given Isaac free Herkimer diamonds and free Herkimer diamond necklaces, things like this. So those are gifts. Um, how incredible is that to get a gift like that? I give the highest quality gifts with every order on my website. And the more you order from me, the bigger and better and more quantity of free gifts you get. So how incredible is that, right? He paid like $29 plus shipping for a couple of labradorite palm stones, a labradorite heart, a free gift package of Herkimer diamonds, all that stuff. So you can't go wrong, everybody. The Mystical Spiral Store. Isaac is a longtime friend and follower of my work and supporter of my work and also a customer of my website. So I definitely take care of him and hook him up as best as I can. And he's connected, very connected. In fact, I did a reading on him long ago, and I felt like that, he's got a special mission here, and he's gonna emerge out of his shell very soon. And there's gonna be a lot more to come from him for you guys. You're gonna see. You're gonna see. He's gonna be one of the ones that are gonna be standing on the front lines, helping people, the end times. So before we get into the Sister Lucy's, Sister Lucy was given those three secrets of Fatima, right? And I talked about in the first show this morning how she was going to reveal that third secret as instructed in 1960. And she was instructed by this so-called angel or heavenly being, or if you want to say the Virgin Mary, which she never, a lot of times these sightings, they don't actually say it. They just say that she was a young lady, or, she never actually said she was the mother of Christ. But this message was supposed to be revealed in 1960, and Lucia was going to reveal it, whether the Pope wanted her to or not, because she was told by a higher authority. She was told by, supposedly Christ, the mother of Christ, God's family, right? The first family of God. So her secret message, the third secret, was going to be revealed in 1960. And before his death, the bishop of the Laieria place that I mentioned earlier, he passed that sealed secret because he's the keeper of the secret of Fatima. That this is why they told Lucia, the being, remember I said the being had told those children to learn to read or write. Three things that she wanted: learn to read or write, learn to pray the rosary beads, and I want you to return here on the 13th of every month. She wanted her to learn to read or write because there was a message that she needed to write down. And this message was going to be revealed to the planet by the Catholic Church in 1960. Before his death, the bishop passed it down. The bishop of Laiertia passed it down to the cardinal patriarch, who passed it to the congregation. And at the time, the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith in Rome received it. And it's known that the Pope at the time, Pope John 23rd, He read The Secret in 1960, right before it was going to be revealed, and then he declined to reveal it, most likely because of its apocalyptic contents. Now, fast forward to 1980, 20 years later, which in her prophecies, she said that a priest in white or a man in white or a pope in white is going to be attacked. And don't you know, on the 13th of May in 1980, Pope John Paul was attacked. But before that, let me remind you, during his visit to Germany in the autumn of 1980, I talked about this in the first show this morning, but I need to rewind because this is crucial. And I'm going to, before I show you the pictures of how I think she was definitely replaced, I don't know if they hid her away or she was unalived, but she was replaced. There was a new Sister Lucy because she was going to reveal this secret in 1960. The church didn't want to reveal it, so they got rid of Lucy. So she, and before they even got rid of Lucy, they wouldn't let, once Lucy became a nun, like, so those three children, after this experience, two of them died very quickly from the Spanish flu. And then Lucy, the last remaining one, the one that wrote down the secret, she went to become a nun. They took her in. And when they took her in, they wouldn't allow her family to see her for years. And then the one time they let her family come see her, they only let her see her through a glass wall like she was in prison. They locked her away for the rest of her life. And you could see even the look on this child's face right here, how burdened and distraught. Let me see if I could find pictures of the three of them. Yeah, these are some of the other ones. Like, look at them. This is Francisco and Jacinta. Look at their faces, how serious and burdened they look from what they saw, what they were revealed. Every picture of them, how serious. This is the three of them. Look at this. This is the three of them. Look at, because they were given like the same vision, similar to the vision that I was given in 2001 in Long Beach. I was given a vision of the world burning and apocalyptic PTSD type activity amongst humanity while it was going to while things were just being destroyed, while the sky was blanketed with darkness, right? And it's a PTSD moment, and it racked my nervous system. In fact, that event, that when I saw those little people in that park during that experience, and I'll get into it in a little while because it lines up. I had a prophecy. I was given a vision of chastisements coming to this planet. I just didn't claim it as from the Virgin Mary, right? But it's very similar, and I had it on the 33rd parallel in Long Beach. And what's the 33rd parallel related to? The fallen angels in Mount Hermon. But whatever was in that third secret of Fatima. Now, I met Malachi Martin in the 90s. Actually, it was about a year and a half before he died, Malachi Martin. And he was at one time a priest for the Catholic Church, an exorcist. I had heard him on Art Bell. I had contacted him, and he had given me Saint Benedict medals in the mail and for me to put throughout the church in the limelight. That was because I had was contacting him about the demonic entities that were in this old Gothic church that they made into a nightclub, and some of the horrible activity that was taking place there, and some of the things that I've witnessed. And I contacted him about it, and he mailed me at the time a letter that I still have, and Saint Benedict medals, and I still saved some of them. I have about 10 of them still. There was a whole package of like 50 medals, and I had put him in different areas of the church, like where the altar was and different things like that. That was now a nightclub, right? So, uh, he apparently was saying that he had access at one time to the third secret of Fatima. I'm not sure if he ever read it. I've never got to ask him about it. Um, I only had very short correspondence with him. Um, and he died shortly thereafter. I think he like fell in his apartment or something like that. I don't know what happened to him. There was controversy about his death as well. Um, but he long time lived in Manhattan, and I had met Ingo Swann as well. Even I see his he used to do art on the Bowery, and one of my cousins actually that I is who became a famous actor. He one of his friends, dude, did an art exhibit in that area, and one of the arts that was being shown that night was Ingo Swann. And I was a kid at the time, and I didn't realize it till years later that Ingo was also the same Ingo with the things. I ended up getting his book shortly after because I started to research him. Yeah, his art was very like homoerotic. It was let me plug in. Well, Ingo Swann, reason why I'm bringing him up too is because Ingo Swann wrote about the Marian apparitions. He was a Catholic, and he was a devout Catholic. And I think that's why he struggled with his sexuality, because he never really came out of the closet officially. I don't think Ingo Swann, but because probably of his Catholic programming. But Ingo Swann was interesting in that he was following Veronica Lukin. Now, what's interesting about Veronica Lukin, everybody, I don't know if you've ever heard that name, but she was a seer that was born on my same birthday, but in 1932, July 12th. So I have that in common with her. She was born on July 12th, 1932. Her name was Veronica Lukin, and she was a typical New York housewife from Queens, from Flushing, Queens, mother of five children. Uh, and she started having Marian apparitions in the late 1960s, early 1970s. And I'm telling you, we're talking Bayside, Queens here, New York City. A small little church. It was the Robert Bellarmine Church, right? Thousands of people were flooding the traffic and stopping these streets in the Queens, like to come to this church where she was getting these apparitions, right? It was so much that the mayor had to give her a stadium, and this took place for like a decade. This was big in Queens, right? And one of her followers was a younger Ingo Swann. Now, Ingo, he was infatuated with this Marian apparition. He was attending some of her vigils where she was seeing these apparitions. In fact, there was all of these weird light anomalies that were happening. One of the prophecies that she got was the lady told her that she was seeing to have the people in the crowds that were coming to bring their Polaroid cameras if they wanted to see signs. Because they were asking, have the lady give us a sign, because Veronica Lukin was the only one that was seeing this lady and getting the messages. So Veronica Lukin had told the crowd of thousands of people, I was told for you guys to bring your Polaroid cameras, right? Very similar to what happened in Zaytun, Egypt in 1968, where it's the one of the most proofs of a holographic plasma image. Have you ever guys look up Zaytun, Egypt, which is not far from Cairo, not far from the Great Pyramid and the Giza pyramids. In Zaytun, Egypt, 1968, very similar being that looks like what the Virgin or Isis even, wearing a veil over her head and her cloak all over her body. She appeared 10 feet tall, hovering on top of a church in Zaytun, Egypt, glowing. And they have Polaroid pictures of it. Even these white dove and light anomalies were showing. Well, the same thing was transpiring with Veronica Lucan in Queens, with the Robert Bellarmine Church and the stadium, right? People were bringing Polaroid cameras and they were taking pictures, and these weird light anomalies were showing up around Veronica Lucan as she was channeling. And people were paying money for these Polaroids, I'll tell you. Ingo Swann himself paid $50 for one of them, right at the time. Now, I have articles here written by Ingo Swann describing it, so I'm not just making it up, right? So, New Yorkers were going crazy over this. Catholic New York, a lot of Catholic New Yorkers, right? Italian Catholics, it's up, Irish Catholics. I mean, there's a lot of Catholic New Yorkers. And the borough of Queens was flooded, and we're talking, this is across the East River from Manhattan in the town of Bayside. I played soccer there. I played soccer tournament there from when I was in travel soccer. We got our asses beat. There were a bunch of Filipinos on that team, and they kicked our ass. I don't know how those kids were even our age. They looked a lot older than us, but they beat our asses too, and we were a good team. Um, but I mean, it was the New York Times, the Time Magazine, Newsweek. They all published extensive articles about Veronica Lucan, right? And the Zaytun in Egypt in 1968, those apparitions continued until 1970. She appeared several times above that church, and you guys can look up. Let me show you real quick. Let me show you real quick. This is some of the pictures of what appeared over the church in Zaytun, Egypt. You guys see that, right? And the crowd that was there said that the lady that appeared, it seemed as if she was looking everyone in the crowd directly in the eyes themselves, and that people were trembling when they saw her. They bowing down and not meaning to bow down. They just automatically went to the knees. And you could see, look at these, look it up here. See, there's some of the light anomaly photos that were being taken. That's not it. These are the ones. And this was in Zaytun, Egypt. Very interesting. And these took place until about 1970, right when the Veronica Lucan one started, right? And let me show you Veronica Lucan. And she was just a regular housewife. This was Veronica Lucan. This was her when she was younger. And this is her as an elderly housewife, right? So this was her when she was having her visions. And she had my same birthday, July 12th. And she talked about UFOs. She talked about how they were angels of the devil. I mean, messengers of the devil and things like this. So, um, incredible, right? That was another. Now Zaytun Egypt is we could do another show on the Zaytun Egypt. Definitely. We can get into that another time. But you guys see the information that these kids were given by that apparition, by the plasma intelligence that was giving them visions of chastisements because of the collective consciousness of humanity. Literally, right? The sun is speaking to humans. The sun had a plan. This is a way to get the message out to the whole world to believe these children. And look at the serious face on these kids. Look at Lucia's face here. The expression is almost like she can't believe she has to go on. And she's trying to even make it looks like she wants to smile for the camera too. But it's just a sobbing. And look, he looks like he's about to go to war. That he knows he can die at any moment. Look at the eyes in this young man. He looks like he's getting ready for battle. The look in his eye is a look that a kid that age should not have. Even this, look at how serious. And these two right here, they wouldn't live very long after this. They died of the Spanish influenza. Lucia right here. Look at how serious in all these pictures. We're just getting started here, everybody. It's going to be a longer show. Oh, shout out to Isaac. Just did a donation on PayPal. What? Shout out to Isaac. He donated on PayPal. Isaac is the man. Thank you so much. You guys can donate on my PayPal, which is the Mystical Spiral, or you can find it at the moontribe712 at hotmail.com. That's the old email that I had on there. Or you could just go to themysticalspiral.com and there's links to my PayPal. You can go get free information at themysticalspiral.com. I'm going to be actually updating it in the next couple of days and putting a lot more stuff on there. I put stuff on my Patreon every week, a few times a week I post up on there. And actually, I have a whole bunch of information going up on there tonight and tomorrow on Patreon. I have a whole new article I've been working on. And you guys can find all sorts of paper radionics I posted on there as well. Yeah, they look fearful of what they've seen. Exactly, Claudette. Exactly. Exactly. Shout out to Isaac, my brother. Well, this is it's horrifying, right? And this is the only one that was left, Lucia. Now, this is Lucia as she got older. Nope. Let me go over here. Right here. Don't look at the right yet. Now, this is that young one as she got older. And you can see this is her face. Right here. You can see as a child. You can see this is her face as she got older on the left. You can see that is her. See right here where I'm pointing right here on the right? This is her grown up. Now, this is the Lucy that they tried to say is her. Because they put her in hiding for many years, the real Lucy. And then when real Lucy reemerged way after 1960, because she was supposed to reveal the secret in 1960, and she was going to. She did interviews right before it that said she was about to reveal it. after, years later, after Lucy finally reemerges, this is what they say she looks like. Now, I don't care if she got dentures or something like it's everything is different. It's not the same woman. You can see Lucy 1 had like messed up crooked teeth and everything was going on with her teeth. They were going, they were like snaggle teeth, right? She had a beautiful smile though. I mean, but her teeth were like all, going different ways. Look at this lady's teeth. These aren't dentures either, I don't think. Even if they are dentures, the whole chin, the nose, the facial structure is completely different. They are not the same woman. In fact, there might have even been three Lucys. You got Lucy 1, the real one here, and then you got hold on. And then you got these two. These might be the same woman, just one without the this might have been her when she was younger. These two. These two might be the same. I'm not sure. But this is 1967. This one. The one on the far right, this is her 1967 picture. I don't think it's the same woman at all. They got someone who looked a little similar, but it's completely different, in my opinion. Look at the two. They're different women. They're different women. This poor woman was replaced. Now, I don't know. I'm speculating. I don't know if she was unalived or she was just locked away, but she's gone either way now, all of them, because she was 8 years old in 1917. She'd be way over 100 years old. So either way, she's gone. She would have been gone by now anyway. But that's not the point. Because of this vision, her whole life was taken. And I'm not talking about that she was unalived. I mean, she literally was taken into the church after this. They wouldn't let her see her family anymore. She was kept in seclusion. She was given vows of silence for decades. That's how serious this was taken. Now, do you think at a time in 1917 when this happened, you guys heard at the beginning of this show what I said? People were being unalived in Portugal at that time for religion. Religion was no more. This was not the time to talk about apparitions. Now, there's been a lot of books written about these events. You can see the photo showing these three rather very solemn faces when they're wearing their very best clothing that they had, which was, very plain and common for us, but this was their best. I mean, they couldn't read or write at the time. So how much they really understood what they saw and what they were doing is, you can only speculate if they really even got to fully grasp the messages that they were given. It went, definitely beyond their comprehension. And of course, apparently they went beyond the comprehension of even the men that were in charge to release this information to the public and to reveal it to the world. Because instead they cowered and they hid it. They became cowardly and cowardice ruled. Fear ruled. The very, very first reports do not say it's a Virgin Mary. It says it's a young woman of transcendent beauty. That's how they were described. She appeared as a radiant, luminescent form. That's how she appeared. A radiant, luminescent, luminescent, radiant form. That's how it's described, with clearly discernible features in a brilliant aura which surrounded and enveloped her and the children as well. That's how it was first described. She seemed to be composed of this aura, and she was transparent. She was like a holographic light form. It was plasma, I'm telling you. And she wore a white glowing garment, and she had a mantle over her head, and her hands were pressed together in an attitude of prayer, right? And she held a string of pure white glowing beads that were sparkling, right? And she even had a glowing crucifix as described. Zach Van, what's up, brother? No doubt. Yeah, I'm doing a good I'm doing a show tonight and trying to clear this all, you know, oh, shout out to Wildwood who did donate in my last stream as well. I see that you said the super thanks. Yeah, you guys, my car blew up today. I'll blow your guys' mind because my car blew up. My baby of 10 years, and it's a very special car to me. And I won't be getting another car anytime soon unless everybody here donates $1.99 in the chat room. Help me out. I'll be taking the bus for a while. Everybody donate $100. I'll get a new car. But yeah, there were six apparitions actually to altogether. Every 13th of the month from May 13th to October 13th. The third appearance was complex, but through the mouths of the three illiterate children, there emerged news and predictions, and some people just couldn't comprehend what was going on. Some people thought it was real. Some people thought it was bullcrap. And yeah, I told you, this was taken real seriously. They took the kids and imprisoned them for a while and questioned them individually to try to see if they were lying or making all this up. I mean, it was pretty serious. And when it first started, though, it was pretty simple. Like the dialogue going on. Lucia asked the lady if she was going to take all three of them to heaven soon at one point. And the lady responded, "Yes, I shall soon come to take Jacinta and Francisco, but you must remain a little longer here below." And now she apparently was told Jesus wishes to use you and make and to use you in making me known and loved and to spread devotion to my immaculate heart throughout the world. Now, this is another thing that has to do with, I believe, the light speaking to the psyche and the religious belief system of the person that it's communicating with. Now, many of, you know, like there were cries, many cries were heard while this somber prediction was spreading out amongst the people that gathered, right? Because people were gathering for these events each month. And then later, Francisco and Jacinta, they, of course, learned, Jacinta, I mean, Lucia had asked the lady in front in front of all three of them, "Are you going to take us all to heaven soon?" And the lady said, "Yeah, I'm coming for Jacinta and Francisco right, like real soon." So Jacinta and Francisco had to stoically stand there knowing that they're about to die. Do you realize that these children right here, they're looking at that camera after having just been told by this lady that came from the heavens that they're about to die. That's why this young man looks like a soldier about to give his life for the cause. You can't fake that. A soldier of God right there. That boy has more courage than anybody can imagine. Now, they were unafraid to be taken to heaven. Oh, celebrate the third super chat on a live stream. Zach Van, $10. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. You're almost broken. You're sending me some money. I really appreciate that, brother. Shout out. Hey, give the old hey. I do that. That's the old Muay Thai in Brazil. Hey, I do that every time we're going to get a super chat. I'll do a hey for Zach and a hey for Isaac. Hey. Yeah. I should get a sound effect system. Yeah, I have something here I can do. Hey. That was good. Thank you, everybody. So there, I mean, look at that. I mean, all love, Bubba. All love. Lucia supposedly then requested after they said she was going to take the two to heaven and all this. I wish to ask you to tell us who you are and to perform a miracle so that everyone believe that you have appeared to us. Lucia had asked the the intelligence, the apparition, this question. The lady then responded, continue to come here every month, and in October, I will show you who I am and what I wish, and will work a great miracle that everyone will have to believe. And this news was given to the crowd, right? So at that time, people fell to their knees and started praying. Some people jeered and shouted that people were lunatics and liars and that the kids were lunatics and they were lying. But the lady continued. She said, sacrifice yourselves for sinners. And say many times, oh Jesus. And then when she says sacrifice yourself, she's not telling people to unalive themselves. A sacrifice means, you know, you give something up, that you're doing badly, one of your bad habits, or you make sacrifices. You make sacrifices for God. You come to church, you do certain things. Those are sacrifices, right? So not all sacrifices it's in a bad light, right? But you sacrifice yourself for sinners and say many times, oh Jesus, is it for your love for the conversion of sinners and in reparation for the sins committed against the Immaculate Heart of Mary? As the lady spoke, she opened her hands, and from them rays of light shone out and seemed to pierce the very heart of the earth. And the place where the earth had been was now a sea of fire. This is the vision that the lady was giving these children. She literally spoke to these children, and she opened her hands up, and from her hands rays of light shone, and it seemed to pierce the very heart of the earth as it's described in Lucia's writings. And the place where the earth had been was now a sea of fire, and plunged in this fire were devils and lost souls as if they were red hot coals. And they floated about in the conflagration, carried about by the flames, issuing clouds of dark smoke. Sparks fell in great conflagrations among shrieks and groans of sorrow and despair. The children were so frightened that they could have died, but the lady continued. You see hell where the souls of poor sinners go, to save them, God wishes to establish in the world the devotion to my immaculate heart. And if they do what I tell you, many souls will be saved and there will be peace. The war is going to end. She meant World War One. But if they do not stop offending God, another and worse one will begin in the reign of Pius the 11th. When you shall see a night illuminated by an unknown light, know that it is the great sign that God gives you that he is going to punish the world for its crimes by means of war, by hungers, and by persecution of the church and the Holy Father. Then the lady went on to enunciate a prediction which at the time was incomprehensible, but it came to fruition. Says, to prevent this, I come to ask the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the first Sundays. If they listen to my request, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, Russia will scatter her errors throughout the world, provoking wars and persecutions of the church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will have much to suffer. Various nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph. The Holy Father will consecrate Russia to me, and she will be converted, and a period of peace will be granted to the world. Now, in Portugal, the lady said, the dogma of the faith will always be kept. The lady then gave a secret message, and the major part of it was supposed to be released in 1960. It was not to be released until 1960, but unfortunately, it never happened. Now, reports on the event and the messages of the third appearance, that this third appearance is when they got this vision, right? It started to print out in papers and places all over, and they were sneeringly at it in Portugal's newspapers. Also, it was conveyed to the world by the Catholic media, right? And in 1917, you know, it was outraging these revolutionary authorities that were going on, and then they were having control over the media and at the time, and there was a lot of stuff that was just going on in the world. It was a crazy vibe, right? This is why that it came at that time, even with the Virgin of Guadalupe. And in that time, it came at a specific time where the religious climate needed it. It converted all of Mexico to Catholicism, that Virgin of Guadalupe apparition with Juan Diego, right? Literally millions and millions of Mexicans were converted from that apparition. Do you realize how many souls were converted from that apparition? Millions and millions of Mexicans. And this apparition came at a crucial time for the religious climate of the planet. It's the sun speaking, right? And, you know, in July of 1917, it seemed that this great war would never end, right? And the children's message that it would you know it seemed that saying that this war was going to end, it seemed that it was never going to end. Oh, shout out to Susan Donahue, 999. You know what? We should continue doing podcasts every day. I should continue this going. We're getting a good roll here. I'll do them every night if people are going to join, and we're going to have a good conversation here in the chat room, stuff like this. Let's keep this ball rolling, everybody. Let's do this every night. Now, the war ended in November 1918, not long after this apparition, after Germans, their resources were exhausted and all this stuff going on. And Pope Benedict was 63 at the time. And I think that, you know, the three young seers at the time that they reported that the next war was going to begin during the papacy of a pope named Pius the 11th. And that was unimaginable at the time. And everyone else, thought it was incredible. But then Benedict died in 1922, and the messages of the lady had been broadcasted throughout the entire world, including that prediction about Pius the 11th. And it's well known that popes are elected by secret vote. And immediately upon their election, each pope selects the name he wishes to be known by as pope. And Achille Cardinal Ratti, born in 1857, just 3 years after Benedict, was elected pope in 1922, and he selected Pius XI as his name. And he still occupied the throne until 1939, when, as the lady had predicted, World War II began. Right? Incredible. And the unknown light, which was seen as an omen, confirming that another great war was shortly to come, on the night of January 25th, 1938, an extraordinary aurora was seen all over Europe. This was the sun speaking, and it extended all over as far south as northern Italy. It extended into France, Spain, Portugal. These auroras are the Maruts of ancient Vedic. They are the Erinyes of Greek, and usually they're just like in the Arctic and stuff like that. But like we've had this year, auroras all over the planet in places you don't usually see them. World War II started 12 months later. During Fatima, did Our Lady promise to return for the end times? We're going to get into this, right? Now, that aurora was a message back from the sun. What's up, Zeralath? Glad you've been listening. The lady's prediction in July of 1917 during the third apparition. I gotta fix this. I'm like bending down into the mic. I don't know if I send back here if it still can see me. Can you guys still hear me good when I'm back like this? So I don't have to like bend over into the mic. So I got the mic up over here on the little table. You guys can hear me when I'm still back good like this? Let me know in the chat room. Or does it mess up like the mic? That's why I don't have to friggin' lean over the whole time. I've been like leaning over for probably 2 hours or more. No one's answering me. Yeah, it's good. All right, cool. Well, it was, you know, the predictions about Russia were interesting in this, right? And it was, you know, now that all these years later, when we look at the Russia, right? I mean, it's incredible that all these years later, and that let me do it so it's not looking up my nose. Those aren't boogers, that's the side of my nose. I hate that it looks like right up my nose. Looks like there's boogers. I know someone looked at it once, said that. Now I'm all self-conscious about it. Um, there we go. Maybe it's better like that. So Um, it's really it's really incredible when you think about coming there on the 13th of the month and everybody gathering for these apparitions. And this has happened. I mean, it's still to a degree happening in Medjugorje, right? And in the with the Medjugorje apparitions, there's some people that are always saying that they're receiving these apparitions. Now, I'm not sure the validity of all of these different ones, but I do know that I feel from the core of my being that these young children were not playing around, that they experienced this. And um, between 1917 and 1931, the Russian communist government were carrying out a systematic decimation of the Catholic Church. With a little over 13 years, 681 parishes, 980 churches were destroyed. Over 1.6 million of the faithful were arrested, deported, or unalived. And as of 1954, after the Soviets began annexing other Soviet bloc countries, 15,700 priests had been forced to accept other jobs. 8,334 theological seminaries were dissolved. 1,600 monasteries were nationalized. And 31,779 churches were closed. During the 7 years of his dictatorial dic- dictatorial rule, Lenin was responsible for 20 million deaths. Now, during the following 29 years, Stalin unalived 46 million. After Russia's errors spread to Maoist China, 70 more million would unalive or perish. So it's very easy to see why this entity or being of light was worried about Russia and did not like the communism and said that it was a must to convert Russia. All right. And now we have literally magnetic north moving over Russia for the sun to chastise that area directly. Right. You're literally bringing magnetic north over it, a big opening in the magnetic field right over Russia for the sun to literally give that the first blast. You can't make this up. It's incredible. Now, when it comes to the prediction by this being of light about the two children that were going to be unalived very soon, Francisco passed away in April 1919. He lived less than 2 years after the apparitions. He passed away when he was 10. He was, of course, a victim of the Spanish influenza that came after that. And his sister Jacinta, she passed away in February of 1920, and she had an attack of pleurisy that followed her influenza, and she was 9 when she passed away. Now, at the fourth apparition, which was August 13th, the children were not present. They had been forcibly taken from their families by the authorities, and they were being held under the threat of imprisonment, right? But the news of the appearances had gone out. So at the time of that August 13th event, there were about 18,000 people congregating in the Cova da Iria area. Now, this Cova da Iria area is the important area where this Fatima took place. Now, the Cova da Iria is very special place, right? This has been a special place for many, many years, right? It was a special place before this apparition, before Catholicism, right? So, um, very interesting. Now, this lady, this blue lady that they saw as well, right? She was talked about as a being of flame, a being of illumination, right? And Minerva is described the same way, a goddess of light and fire, right? The being of the flame. Diana, Minerva, Hecate, Isis, Sekhet, they are all described in these same ways. And they are all described as the sun, as being a solar goddesses that are delivering the message to their seers. And at the time, if a woman is going to appear in that way to the children, they're going to assume she's the Virgin Mary because that's the religious climate of the time. So when they see this lady, they giving her the label of the Virgin Mary. The lady didn't call herself Mary. And when it first took place, her mother, her name was Maria Rosa, she didn't believe in the supernatural. And when she learned of this visitation that her daughter received, she decided to ask her daughter a question about the alleged apparition that transpired the previous day. And she said, Lucia, I heard that you saw Our Lady at the Cova d'Aria. Her mother asked Lucia. Lucia said, who told you so? And the mother, it was Jacinta's mother, who it was her cousin's mother that told her, Lucia's mother, you know, it was Jacinta's mother whose daughter told her. Is it true? Then Lucia corrected her mother and said, I never said it was Our Lady. I said it was a small, pretty lady. So Lucia was correcting people right off the jump. She said I didn't say it was the Virgin Mary. I said it was a pretty, luminous lady. And she said, I even asked Jacinta and Francisco to say nothing, but they couldn't hold their tongues. So Lucia wasn't the one that was spreading the information that they received these apparitions. It was her two cousins, Francisco and Jacinta, who were opening their mouths and that couldn't keep the secret. They couldn't hold their tongues. And the mother asked, it was a small lady? And Jacinta said, yes. Lucia said, yes, mother. And then the mother said, well, then speak up and tell me what the lady told you. And like I said, the lady said she told me that we should continue to go here for 6 consecutive months on the 13th of each month. And at the end of time, she would tell us who she was and what she wanted from us. And like I said, she told them to learn how to read and write and to say the rosary. And it didn't identify herself at all. She had promised to do so 6 months later. But Jacinta had it in her head that she knew it was the Virgin Mary, and everyone followed suit after that. So it wasn't Lucia, it wasn't Francisco, it was Jacinta, one of the three girls, the one of the cousins that saw this, that just started telling everybody it was the Virgin Mary, and then everybody followed that. Now, there was a whole bunch. Like I said, this is going to be in 4 parts because I have so much to get into. We have even a 4th seer of Fatima, a testimony of a 4th young lady that saw a young being running near the oak tree or hanging above the oak, right? There was a fourth seer of Fatima, right? And you can actually get a book titled The Heavenly Lights by Joaquim Fernandez, and the foreword is written by Jacques Vallée. And this is talked about the fourth seer of Fatima in here. I got that for this. So I'm going to be referencing some of the encounters from this book right here. I haven't used it yet tonight, but I'm going to open it and reference a few things from it. The fourth seer, she saw a telepathic small humanoid. And I will get into that encounter as well. Now they're of course saying it's a UFO in this. And I'm saying it's quite possibly there was UFO involved, but it was coming from the sun. It was a plasma craft. Definitely a plasma craft. Once again, if you guys are just tuning in, this is Exploring the Ka channel. It is the Space Water podcast where we dive into the sound of the light. And this is episode 37B, When the Sun Speaks, Third Secret of Fatima. What time did we start tonight? No, did I start at 9:25? Oh yeah, so we already did 2 hours. We could keep it going if you guys want me to keep it going, or should we end it tonight? Should we end it here? Let me know how you guys feel about it in the chat room. Should we keep it going? Maybe we'll take a 2-minute break and keep it going. I got my golden hat on for my podcast. The last few podcasts, I've been wearing my golden hat. Got the golden boy hat. Look, it's got like I like this. I don't wear this hat in public, only for the pub. It's got like fish. It almost looks like fish scales on it. See that? Pretty dope hat, but I don't wear it out in public. Keep it going. All right, we'll keep it going. We'll keep it going. We'll keep it running live. Keep it running live. Yeah, we just sold today too the new skulls that I just got done. They're really good. Actually, they're next level gem skulls. One is an amethyst agate geode, another is a starlight rose quartz. I've been working with rose quartz today. This is the one that I had sitting by my little star child rose quartz one. This has got like a bulbous alien type top of the head too. I like this guy. And of course, the opal right here. Beautiful. The golden child. That's right. The golden child. We got the feedback loop going. We got moonstone bracelet. Love moonstone. No doubt. What else we got right here for you guys? Oh, we got my amethyst wands. These are my daggers for cutting down bad dreams, cutting down bad vibes. The amethyst wands. These are the Baraka daggers. The Baraka daggers. What's up, Monique? Keep it going. How about this? The next person to order on the Mystical Spiral store, we'll get this Herkimer diamond pendant. This has got twisted royal cubit copper around it as well. Let me show you. It's a nice little guy, beautiful little guy. I made this for a gift. Can I show? Can you guys see it clearly? I don't know if you guys can see it clear, but it's a Herkimer diamond with the twisted royal cubit copper. Next person who orders, you could tell me at checkout too. Hey, Herkimer diamond pendant, I heard you on YouTube. It's 11:29 p.m. So the next person who orders tonight after 11:29 p.m. on my website will get this free Herkimer diamond royal cubit pendant. And you also receive another free gift too. This one just sold tonight. A shungite and shungite and a royal cubit. I got the best Herkimer diamonds for you guys out there, and the best shungite. I got big old pieces of shungite too. Then they got rainbow in them, so you don't find rainbow in shungite. And I got some. I almost just sat on these. I got some really good, incredible shungite. I forgot. Oh, the Herkimer diamonds. Yeah, the Herkimer diamonds are next level. Also, if people want the kyanite specimens, I got beautiful kyanite and quartz specimens. And kyanite, they maintain their charge for lifetime. One of the only materials like that. I got these beautiful kyanite and quartz specimens like this available. See, Wildwood, when Wildwood was talking this morning, you know, you got a lot of information in this podcast. You didn't, some people were like, "Oh, you were talking about your products this morning too much." Well, that's because that's where the conversation went. This time I gave you 2 hours of info. Yeah, so we were getting into other people communicating with the light over time. And if you guys look back at some of my podcasts, these space water podcasts, they should be getting thousands of views. I have some great podcasts that only have like 100 or 200 views. One of the ones I just did a couple of days ago, what was the title of the podcast? I forget the title of the podcast. No, not Decoding the Maruts. It was before that one. Decoding the Maruts is another good one. And it had to do with all the people that were channeling different channels and the light. One of the channels was OASP, right? This is the big volume of this book, which was channeled in 1881. This is the OASP, basically a Bible, right? I actually have a tensor ring hanging there from this. It comes with those, not with the tensor ring, but it comes with a few of these things in it. The bookmark things. They got a yellow one and a blue one in there. And I actually tied a little tensor ring at the bottom of it in there. But this is an incredible book. Now, OASP was done through automatic writing. A pillar of light was guiding this man's writing, an angelic messenger, as he called it. And this guy was a dentist in 1881, 1800s, not 19, 1881. This guy channeled this massive book. And in this, he even describes and draws the Van Allen belts before we knew they existed. And this is OASP, the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors, a sacred history of the dimensions of the higher and lower heavens of the earth for the past 24,000 years. The Elohist edition. And I talked to you guys before about the difference between the different the different different description of the Bible. Now this is like bigger than the Bible. But in the Bible you have the Elohist and the Jehovistic accounts that I've talked about before. And they're different narratives about the creation and the beginning of man. Right? The Elohistic is the oldest, the first, the earliest. And really incredible information in here. I mean, it's not a perfect book like they say, but this is really powerful. And I talked about some of the other people that were channeling in the late 1800s, like Anna Kingsford and that was the name of the show I did, Clothed with the Sun. That was the name of the show because of her channelings, Clothed with the Sun. You guys got to go back and check that show out. Now, there's a lot of different channelings that were taking place. I showed books from Barbara Marcinek to Stuart Holroyd to Jane Roberts, uh, Alice Bailey. Who else do we got here? Oh, they even had this guy who, I would take it with a grain of salt. Even the Japanese one, uh, who he even called it the Laws of the Sun, by Ryuho Okawa. This was like a cult. I think they were called the Smile. What was it called? The friggin' oh man, I forget now. Have you guys ever heard of that? The Japanese called they were called it was the Laws of the Sun book, and the guy Okawa, he's dead. He passed away now. Um Damn, I forget what they were called. They were like the happy freaking cult or whatever it was called. I forget the name of it now. It's been so long. Uh you guys could probably look it up online. But yeah, I would the Happy Science. Happy Science. That's what it was. Happy Science. And he had his like Happy Science cartoons and anime that he did. But I I don't agree with most of the stuff that he says in here either. I mean, he's talking about uh all these different realms and names that he had in here. I don't know. Some of this stuff it seems like he just made up. And it's not too in depth either. But this even his Laws of His Son book, this is not even 260 pages. I mean, you got the OAS book. It's like Urantia, the Urantia book that I've talked about. I mean, this book, these are the Urantia papers. I first got this in the 90s, and I came into it in a very weird way too. I was like in a juvenile detention, and somebody like was having like a religious experience in there, and they were screaming about the Urantia papers and running around naked. It was crazy, and so it made me research it. But they have, in this book is very similar, like because I went to some Jehovah Witness study groups a long time ago because of a previous relationship I was in. She was Jehovah Witness, so I had gone to check, to see some of these study groups that they had and to participate. And they call Jesus Christ Michael, the Jehovah's. Well, so does Urantia. They actually call him Michael from Nebadon. I found that very interesting, and I mentioned that to the Jehovah Witnesses, but they didn't know what Urantia was. Most of them didn't even know about the Nephilim and stuff like that. So I kind of, you know, I gave them a run for their money in those study groups. They didn't really know what to do with me. But they go into very interesting stuff. Of course, they talk about Satania, Earth, right, and the different sons of Nebadon. Um, and they do call. Let's see what they say about the sun density. here in Urantia and solar radiation. The mass of your sun is slightly greater than the estimate of your physicists, who have reckoned it at about 2 ostillion tons. It now exists about halfway between the most dense and the most diffuse stars, having about 1.5 times the density of water. But your sun is neither a liquid nor a solid, it is gaseous. And this is true, notwithstanding. So he doesn't even mention anything about it being a higher state of gas or plasma. Explaining the difficulty of expanding how gaseous matter can attain this and even much greater densities. Wow. Says you are not cooling stars may be physically gaseous and tremendously dense at the same time. You are not familiar with the solar supergases, but these are other unusual forms of matter. Explain how even non-solid suns can attain a density equal to iron, about the same as Urantia. So Urantia is Earth, I guess, right? And some people really believe Urantia like a Bible. We're gonna get back into the Fatima. But yeah, this is another one of the channelings. Let me put this back in here. I got some, I mean, there's so many that we could get into. We're going to go through the different channelings of the Sibylline oracles eventually as well. I even have rare book here from the Oracle of Baalbek. You can't buy these books anymore. If you bought this book, you would spend a lot to buy it used. This is the Oracle of Baalbek, the Tiburtine Sibyl. This was the 10th Sibyl. And that prophecy is incredible with the prophecy that they brought to the 10th Sibyl. Now, the 10th Sibyl was brought a prophecy that 100 priests in the same night received the same dream, and they saw 9 different suns at different stages. And they brought this dream vision that they all had. Now, how can have 100 people have the same vision in a night, in the same dream? That's incredible. So they brought it to the Sibyl, and she translated their prophecy for them. And she said that the 9 sons had to do with 9 generations and this and that and the third. We're going to get into that another time as well. But we'll pick this up tomorrow on the Space Water podcast, where we're going to do the third secret of Fatima, part 3. And we're going to go deeper into the apparitions of the Fatima. We're going to go into who the fourth seer was. We're going to go into the sound of the bees, the buzzing bees. We're going to go into the miracles that happened in the sky and all the different attributes of the Fatima, because you have a lot of different things that took place. You had the different effects on the environment. You had the bizarre clouds. You had the UFO angles. You had the weird thunder that was trying. You heard the hearing of buzzing of bees that was going on. You had all of these descriptions of these phenomenons that was taking place, these different clouds that were happening, right? These different observations that people were making, and you even have a testimony of the fourth seer that no one really saw or hears about or talks about, that was revealed in the Heavenly Lights book. And we're going to get into that, right? So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned, right? This is the channel to go to. Space Water Podcast. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Zach, Monique, Claudette, Zeralath, Susan, Zach. Who else we got? We got Claudette, I said. Jimmy Satterfield. Now batting number 4, Jimmy Satterfield. Sounds like a baseball player playing center base. I mean center base, playing center field. Jimmy Satterfield, Jason H. Well, shout out to everybody. Really cool to have you guys here. Check out the Mystical Spiral store. We still have the coupon codes up, everybody. We still have the coupon codes up, live and running. I still want to continue this live. I feel like I could do like 2 more hours, but I don't want to make it all in one show. We should probably just run it, right? I feel like running it. Maybe we'll take a break and I'll go live again. I had a bad day today. My car blew up and it was the final straw. It's completely shot. So I took a nap like this afternoon and I woke up a little while ago and I'm like refreshed. I slept like 3 or 4 hours. I was like really so stressed out today that I literally I had to lay down. But things will work out. Things will work out. We'll see. I might take a few minute break and come back live, everybody. So check me out right here at the Space Water Podcast. Of course, go to the Mystical Spiral store to get yourself products for your mind, body, and soul. Go to Patreon for my groundbreaking research and work. Patreon.com/the mystical spiral. Check out all our products, all our information on there. And we have another YouTube channel, not just here on Exploring the Car. We also have the Mystical Spiral channel. And if you're into combat sports, we have my MMA Shaman channel. Yeah, your transmission just went. Yeah, it's freaking cold. I should have known this morning. It was 25 degrees outside and I needed to go get groceries. I was like, should I go now? I started the car and within a few minutes after starting it, antifreeze started friggin' streaming out of like 4 different locations. And then the freaking engine started clanking, clonk, clonk. I'm like, oh my God, I need to shut the car off. It's about to explode. Horrible, horrible, horrible. But it's a nightmare. And it's weird because it was like a weird omen. I've been using the same wallet ever since I've had that car from since 2010, 2009. And it was a wallet that my great aunt gave to me a long time ago. I had it since I was a kid. This morning, because the wallet, it's an old leather wallet and it's like falling apart. So this morning, I literally changed wallets. While I was changing my wallet, I said to myself, watch, now this wallet, I'm changing this wallet. My car is going to die the same time as I change this wallet. Because so for some reason, I was associating that wallet with my car. Wouldn't you know, 10 minutes after I switch my bank cards and everything to the new wallet, my car breaks down. 10 minutes after I said that. I hope that doesn't work with all things. Because there's times I had intuition about friggin' other things like that, and I hope that is not the case. But sure hell worked this morning like that. As soon as I said, watch this wallet, now that I changed and then my car breaks down and I went inside and I changed it back to my old wallet. Still back in my old wallet. I was like, fuck. Superstitious, huh? But thank you guys for joining me here. Space Water Podcast, episode 37B. Thank you guys so much.